Hi and welcome back. If you have been here for a little while, you know that I take a longevity supplement called NMN, nicotinamide mononucleotide. I have made quite a few videos on NMN, as well as my experience with the supplement. In fact, it is the single supplement I have made the most videos on. It is also the supplement I get asked the most questions about. So in today's video, I want to summarize my experience with taking NMN for the last 3+ years, hoping it will answer some of those questions. And I also want to share the results of a recent NAD test I took. As I just mentioned, I have made quite a few videos on NMN, so I won't go too much into detail. But in a nutshell, NMN is a form of vitamin B3 or niacin, and it is a precursor to a molecule called NAD, nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. NAD is a critical coenzyme found in every cell in our body, and it is essential for creating cellular energy and maintaining cellular health. NAD can directly or indirectly influence many key cellular functions, including metabolic pathways, DNA repair, cellular senescence, and immune cell function. NAD is so important that it is speculated that without it, we would be dead within 30 seconds. And studies in mice show that mice with lower NAD levels indeed die younger. Unfortunately, as with so many things, as we age, NAD declines rapidly. It is said that by age 50, we only have about 50% of our NAD levels left. And a decline in NAD levels is linked to numerous aging-associated diseases, including cognitive decline, cancer, metabolic diseases, sarcopenia, and frailty. And studies show that increasing NAD levels can help protect against many of these aging-associated diseases. Not only does NAD decline rapidly as we age, but high alcohol consumption, chronic inflammation due to certain medical conditions, exposure to certain toxins such as mold, not getting enough sleep or working night shifts, and even getting too much sun exposure can further deplete NAD levels. But luckily, there are some things we can do to naturally raise our NAD levels. Exercise is a great one. Fasting or heat exposure through sauna bathing, hot tubbing, or taking hot bath can also be very beneficial. So can making sure to not get excessive sun exposure and practicing stress management. And of course, we can also take NAD precursors such as NMN or even NR, nicotinamide riboside. Now, while I practice most of these things, I exercise regularly, I don't consume alcohol, I try to avoid the sun, I don't fast because I have a history of an eating disorder, but I recently even got a portable sauna, so I could sauna bathe regularly. So while I do most of these things, after learning about the importance of NAD and the benefits of NAD precursors, I decided about 3+ years ago to add an NAD precursor to my routine. Back then I started with NR, nicotinamide riboside. Now, when I first started taking NAD precursors 3+ years ago, NAD tests available to the public did not exist. So unfortunately, I never got my NAD baseline. But judging by how quickly I noticed benefits when starting to take NAD precursors, as well as my age, I started taking NAD precursors at 50 years young. And again, it is speculated that by age 50, we only have about 50% of our NAD levels left. So judging by my age and how quickly I noticed improvements, I can only imagine that my NAD levels were quite low. The improvements I noticed really quickly, really within the first 2 weeks, were first of all, the quality of my sleep improved. I have never been the greatest sleeper. I wake up quite frequently. But before taking NAD precursors, my sleep was crap. I felt even when I was sleeping that I just never really rested. So within the first 2 weeks of back then taking NR, the quality of my sleep improved. I started sleeping deeper. I still kept waking up a couple of times a night, but when I was asleep, my sleep was deeper and more restful. Then I noticed my stamina and strength increased, and I also just had this overall sense of well-being, which is really hard to describe. So for about, I can't quite remember now, 3-4 months, I took NR. Then I learned that NR has to be converted into NMN before it gets converted into NAD. So I figured, let's cut out the middleman, and I started taking NMN. And once I switched from NR to NMN, all the benefits I noticed from taking NR became even more noticeable. I felt I was getting younger, which was great. So I continued to take NMN, and about 2 years ago I took my first NAD test. Now, to be honest, the best thing to do to test my NAD levels would have been to stop supplementing with NMN for a couple of months to let my NAD go back to baseline. However, the thought of that really scared me. I was feeling so good and I did not want to go backwards. So I decided instead, since the objective of the test was not just to see where my NAD levels were at, but also if NMN indeed raised NAD levels, I decided to take the test without making any changes. So I took the first test taking 1 gram of NMN along with 1 gram of TMG, just like I had done for the last almost 2 years. And as you can see at that supplementation, my NAD levels were 67.1. As soon as I took the first test, I then increased my NMN to 2 grams along with my TMG to 2 grams. And I did so for 4 weeks. After 4 weeks of taking 2 grams of NMN along with 2 grams of TMG, I took another test. And I was amazed to see that by doubling the amount of NMN for just 4 weeks, my NAD levels increased by almost 30% from 67.1 to 84.5. Now, while my NAD definitely increased by taking more NMN, to be honest, I didn't feel much difference between taking 1 gram or 2 grams of NMN. And back then, 2 years ago, NMN was still quite expensive. Prices of NMN have dropped quite a bit in the last couple of years, but back then, like I said, it was still quite expensive. So since it was quite expensive, and I really didn't notice much difference between taking 1 gram or 2 grams, I decided to go back after my test to taking just 1 gram of NMN, again along with 1 gram of TMG, and I felt fantastic. Until about 8 months ago. About 8 months ago, I started feeling not so good. I had all kinds of strange symptoms which did not seem to correlate. I was depressed. I had intense anxiety, headaches daily. I was freezing cold when it was 80 degrees outside. I had, like I said, all kinds of strange symptoms which did not seem to correlate. Around the same time I started not feeling good, my dog Sam also started getting sick. My poor little girl was throwing up every day for 4 months. Of course, we took her to a vet. In fact, we took her to 4 different vets. They did all kinds of tests imaginable and couldn't find anything wrong with her. So finally, a friend of mine suggested I took a mold test, which came back showing very high levels of a toxic mold metabolite found in water-damaged buildings. Shortly after I got my test results, we came home to a flooded apartment, which ended up a blessing in disguise because it made us put 2 and 2 together. So we moved out of our apartment and Sam and I started taking handfuls of supplements to help us detox. And since I knew that mold illness was one of the things that can really deplete NAD levels, I decided to start increasing my NMN back to 2 grams a day along with 2 grams of TMG. I also decided to add some apigenin to my routine. And apigenin is a bioflavonoid which can also help keep our NAD levels nice and high by inhibiting the production of CD38, a multifunctional enzyme which can degrade NAD. So for the last 6 or so months, again, along with all kinds of supplements to help me detox, I have been taking 2 grams of NMN, 2 grams of TMG, and 500 milligrams of abugenin. Now, I just recently retook the mold test. I don't have the results yet, but knock on wood, it's much better. But I was also curious to see where my NAD levels are at. So I retook the same NAD test I took about 2 years ago, which is a super easy test to take. It comes straight to your house, comes with everything you need. You just prick your finger, collect a little bit of blood on a cord, treat it with a special solution, and send it off. And by the way, even though I got this test from Do Not Age, it is performed by an independent lab. So Do Not Age, aside from selling the test, has nothing to do with the test. The results are sent directly to the tester via email. So after about 6 weeks, I got my test results, and I have to say I was incredibly happy to see that even after dealing with mold illness, the stress of my little girl being sick, and the stress of moving, my NAD levels are currently in the above optimal range at 119. Now again, unfortunately, I never got an NAD baseline. But me being now 54 years young and having dealt with mold illness, I can only imagine that without supplementation, my NAD levels would be quite low. Now, since my NAD levels are in the above optimal range now, I decided to stop taking abugenin. Not because I don't think it is a fantastic supplement. In fact, on top of helping us raise our NAD levels, abugenin is a fantastic antioxidant. It is neuroprotective, and it can even help with anxiety and even sleep. But for me, the main reason I took abugenin was to raise my NAD levels. And since they are quite high right now, and I am taking so many other supplements, I just wanted to simplify my routine. So for now, I stopped taking abugenin, but I am continuing to take 2 grams of NMN plus 2 grams of TMG a day. If that changes, I will keep you posted. So I hope this video was helpful. I would love to know, do you take NAD precursors? If so, which ones? And what have you noticed? Any questions or comments, please leave them down below. You know, I always love to hear from you. Oh, I forgot. I'm sure many of you have heard that the FDA is trying to ban NMN. Now, this is not due to worries about safety or efficacy. In fact, more and more human studies are emerging, showing that NAD precursors are not just effective, but also safe. So at this point, we don't know what is going to happen. But last I spoke to Do Not Age, they were not worried about it. In fact, the CEO of Do Not Age does not think that the FDA can ultimately ban NMN, since it is a substance found in food. But of course, I will keep you posted if there are any new developments. So again, I hope this video was helpful. Thank you so much for being here. Until next time, bye.